Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so today we're diving into some source material that is going to completely flip how you look at your own confusion. You know that overwhelming feeling of just not knowing what to do with your life? Well, we're going to see how that is actually a blueprint for success. We're looking at a fascinating case study today, focusing on one of the most iconic figures of our time. But listen, we aren't looking at him as a billionaire tech genius today. No, we're looking at him as a powerful example of finding absolute clarity.
So do you have too many interests? Do you feel completely lost? I want to speak directly to you right now, the young professionals, the students, really anyone watching who feels pulled in a dozen different directions. Maybe you're super into tech, but you also love art. Or you're studying engineering, but you're just totally obsessed with philosophy. Right? Society is always telling us to just pick one lane and stay in it. Well, if you're feeling overwhelmed by your scattered passions, our source today actually validates that exact feeling. You aren't broken. In fact, you might be standing right on the verge of brilliance. Let's see how this all builds. Section 1. The confused college dropout. Now, obviously, we all know Steve Jobs as this absolute tech titan, but the text highlights a completely different starting point. He was just a confused kid. His story actually begins with rejection. Back in 1955, his biological mother put him up for adoption, and when it came time to sign the papers, she actually hesitated. Why? Because the couple adopting him, Paul and Clara Jobs, weren't highly educated. She only finally agreed on one extremely strict condition. They had to promise that this boy would absolutely definitely go to college. Now, there's a really fascinating principle that pops up here. The unseen parts must be perfect. See, Steve's adoptive dad, Paul, was a mechanic, and he didn't just teach Steve how to use machines, he taught him how they actually worked. He instilled this amazing philosophy in young Steve. Even the hidden parts of a machine, the stuff literally nobody will ever see, they matter. They have to be perfect for the whole thing to work. Growing up around Silicon Valley, this lesson just ignited this intense curiosity in Steve. He was so curious that, as a kid, he literally picked up the phone, called the CEO of a massive tech company, Bill Hewitt, asked for parts for a project, and bam, he ended up scoring a summer internship. Crazy, right?
Okay, so to fulfill that promise to his biological mom, his working-class parents drained their entire savings to send him to Reed College in 1973. But, just 6 months in, feeling incredibly guilty about the sheer cost, Steve dropped out. But here's the thing, this wasn't quitting, it was a pivot. He started dropping in on classes that genuinely interested him, like calligraphy. He slept on his friends' floors, returned glass bottles just to buy food. By 1974, he's off exploring Zen philosophy and spirituality in India. Honestly, to anyone looking from the outside, he looked completely and utterly lost.
That brings us to Section 2, connecting the random dots. During this time, Jobs was asking himself the really tough questions. He was filtering out what he didn't like and keeping exactly what he loved. And then, he reunites with his brilliant engineer friend who loved electronics just as much as he did, Steve Wozniak. Together, in a tiny, humble garage, they launch a little project called Apple. And this is exactly where his past chaos begins to bridge directly to his future success.
This brilliantly illustrates the sheer magic of his journey. Look at how this maps out. On one side, we have his seemingly random, quote-unquote, useless interests, calligraphy, Zen spirituality, that trip to India. But on the other side, we have Apple's DNA. When they were building the very first Macintosh computer, it wasn't just about the microchips for him. Jobs insisted on beautiful typography, which was a direct result of that random calligraphy class. He insisted on minimalist design and sheer simplicity, directly stemming from his deep dives into Zen. He basically took these completely scattered interests and mashed them together to create a unique aesthetic that totally revolutionized technology.
And this leads us to one of the absolute most powerful realizations highlighted in the source material. You cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. Think about it. Right now, your random interests might make absolutely zero sense, but you have to trust that these scattered dots in your life will eventually connect to form your own unique masterpiece.
Moving on to Section 3, fired, but not finished. Because, as we know, the journey to success is rarely a straight line. Apple grew into this massive billion-dollar company, and to manage it, Jobs hired a brilliant CEO. But over time, their visions started to fiercely clash. And in a totally devastating twist, the board of directors sided with the CEO. Jobs was publicly fired from the very company he built from scratch in his parents' garage. His entire identity was just shattered. But 1985 brought an unbelievable rebirth. Devastated and fired, he channeled all that passion into a brand new company called NeXT. A year later, he buys a small graphics division. Maybe you've heard of it, Pixar, and they create Toy Story. Now, NeXT's hardware wasn't a massive commercial hit, but the technology behind it was so incredibly powerful that a struggling Apple actually ended up buying it in 1997, which brought Jobs right back. His absolute refusal to give up literally laid the foundation for Mac OS X, the iPhone, and the iPad.
We now arrive at Section 4, the ultimate life question. Later in life, Jobs faced his most difficult challenge by far, a diagnosis of a rare form of cancer. You know, when you're faced with your own mortality, all that outside noise, the expectations, the fears of failing, it all just falls away. It stripped his life right down to absolute clarity.
There is this stark, incredibly powerful question he asked himself. If today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today? Jobs said that whenever the answer was no for too many days in a row, he knew he had to change something. The source suggests using this exact thing as a mirror technique in your own life. If your answer is no, you are very likely wasting your time on tasks that just do not serve your ultimate goals.
Section 5. 3 Lessons for Clarity. So, how do we actually apply all this? Well, the source material distills Jobs' chaotic, emotional journey down into 3 concrete, actionable rules that you can start using literally today.
Let's break these down. Rule number 1. Action brings clarity. You cannot think your way into a clear life path. You have to actually do things. Stop just passively consuming content and take some action. Rule number 2. Follow your passion. When you do what you genuinely love, you unlock a level of dedication that others just simply can't match. And rule number 3. This is the big one. Combine your diverse interests into something totally unique. Do not throw away your random hobbies. Merge your love for coding with your love for music. Combine that engineering degree with your passion for philosophy. That combination, that is literally your superpower.
Which brings us to Section 6, turn knowledge into action. It is time to stop just learning and start actively doing. Look, to find your own clarity, you need the right tools. Tools that force you to ask yourself those tough questions, exactly like Jobs did. The source material introduces a specific platform designed for this exact purpose. And here is the incredible value proposition they lay out. For just 99 rupees a month, the source recommends a platform called Summary Board. Think about it. You couldn't even buy a single physical book for that price. This platform gives you access to 70 highly curated, incredibly powerful books. Specifically, the text highlights the passion test to help pinpoint your direction and the 7 habits of highly effective people, specifically that habit of beginning with the end in mind. These are the exact tools that provide those tough questions you need to answer.
But hey, knowledge alone isn't enough, right? You need application. So here's a massive bonus offered in the source material. For the first 500 people who subscribe, you get free access to a 21-day Zoom challenge, which is normally valued at 1,000 rupees. This is a live, interactive community challenge where you aren't just reading, you're practicing meditation, you're answering those really tough questions together, and you are actively turning this knowledge into tangible results in your life.
The source outlines a super simple process to secure your spot. Just hit subscribe on the Summary Board platform, complete a quick payment, and you'll get instant access via WhatsApp or email. It's immediate. Your transformation can quite literally begin right now.
Now, the source material also announces something I think is really special. A community-funded Genuine Needs giveaway. So previous participants who just loved the program actually donated extra money to fund access for folks who are genuinely financially weak. If you truly cannot afford the 99 rupees, you can fill out a form, like, share, and subscribe to get free access. As the text emphasizes, this is not just about handing out a fish, it's about teaching you how to fish so you can build your own wealth and completely change your own life.
I want to leave you all with a final provocative thought today. What will your random dots connect to? Look, your life is not a mistake. Your scattered passions are just waiting to be combined into something the world has quite literally never seen before. Take action today. Use the tools available to you and start connecting those dots. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait to see what you build.